coherent response.
Like if he had it by memory, I mean, obviously he could probably also. I guess he could have a teleprompter as well. But if he had that queued up, I would have been.
If I was running the teleprompter, I would have probably typed that in there and been like, "No, you got to say it, man."
Yeah, he's like Ron Burgundy. He has to say it.
Mm-hmm. You got to say it.
You can't put that on a teleprompter. You know he'll read anything. Let's see. Test. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Make sure we get going. It says we are fed into everywhere.
This has no live interaction, though, right?
What you mean?
Like nobody is watching us right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's people watching.
Yeah, we're working without a net, baby.
Oh, nice. Glad I brushed my beard.
Yeah, it's just easier to run the show live, and then you can always edit down for what eventually gets on the podcast and make some different clips out of it. But I think we had talked about possibly doing multiple, and we're like, yeah, that's that. No one has the time for that. So,
yeah.
And there's a lot of like radio shows I watch that will simulcast to just make their lives easier. So.
And full disclosure, I have about the same low energy as Biden has right now. So.
Dun dun dun.
Sleepy Joe.
Oh, Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe. Oh, Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe.
For someone who takes pleasure in insulting people, I figured at least his insult game would be more on point.
Mm-hmm.
Biden's?
Either.
Oh.
Either or.
Because Biden.
Trump is a monosyllabic.
Oh, go ahead.
Trump is a monosyllabic moron. So I mean, but Biden, like his tactic, I don't think people understand. Like this was a rope-a-dope.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted Trump to jump all over him.
Mm-hmm.
And show the contrast. Like at the end of the debate, Trump was sweating buckets,
mm-hmm.
and Biden was dry as a nun's knickers.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that's the thing. Even if you're not a fan of Biden, I'm like, this should show you just enough, like the huge difference here, guys.
Yeah,
it's like, come on.
You would think, but gosh, this video layout is still driving me nuts. Hold on.
As long as we're not live now, I don't want to talk about.
Oh no, we're
I don't
live.
want to talk about politics live.
It's too late. You've been live for minutes.
No,
man.
no.
Oh no.
Oh no! Whatever you gonna do?
I would have messed up. As a lefty.
All right.
Tough. You're on a show with me. It's a near impossibility.
Okay. I feel like that's kind of better. All right.
The thing is, Kenny, I can only see the top of your head. I don't know if that's on purpose or not.
Okay, so the camera that you see is not the same as I got a better camera going out to everyone else. But
cool. So,
yeah. Oh fuck.
Oh.
That's one way to edit Tom's video. Fuck. Just delete it all the way. I was like,
you don't have to edit if it's gone.
That's right. I was like, where did it go? It's like,
that's okay.
It was like Seacrest out.
Goodbye.
All right. I really got to figure out how ESPN and all those other places have like so many pundits on at the same time.
It's called like 3 gigabit fiber pops, and
that must be nice. Must be very nice. One day, Tom. One day, Tom. All right. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. I see we got a couple people. All right. We got a couple people on here. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Twitch. All right, and I don't know who's out there on YouTube, but hello. It never wants to tell me who's on YouTube. It says we're on, but it never wants to tell me who's on YouTube. Cool. All right. It's Prometheus Day. I've even got my Whale and Lucatani shirt. Had to do the right thing today. And we don't have a ton of movie news. We'll get into that. We'll get to what we have here in just a second. But definitely wanted to give some warm shout outs to our two co-hosts two guest hosts joining me and Tom today. Vartan Kaktatorov and hey, actually, did I fuck your name up? Did I get it?
It's fine. You got it.
I mean, if I didn't, you can tell me.
No, it's good. It's good.
All right. I feel like there's a lie. I feel like there's a lie being perpetrated on my own damn show, but I'm gonna roll with it.
The way it's pronounced is Vartan Hachaturo, so I cut you a lot of slack.
Fuck. Okay. Right.
Yeah, right.
I am not gonna get that tonight. I am not drunk enough. But I could put some whiskey in this tea. And old Oliver White. Mm-hmm.
Hey.
If you don't know, how's it go?
It
How's
goes
it go for
well.
both of you?
It goes well. How about you, sir?
Good. It's almost the end of it is the end of the month. So I'm still breathing, kicking,
Still above ground.
Still above ground.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me check in with my co-host. That's the mostest. That's terrible. We'll never use that again.
Wow. Holy cow.
We'll edit it in post. It's all right. How you doing, Tom?
Can't edit live. I'm just Ducky. Still excited that my house is in Lovecraft a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, trying to tell you, man. That was kind of cool. I was like, hey, what? I know that street. I know that. Hey, I know that house. So, I've gone for that door many times. We've enjoyed gratuitous burritos and tacos in that establishment.
And the best horchata.
The best horchata you will ever have. I mean, in your life. I mean, it will make you want to slap someone else's mama. It's that good. Cool. All right, folks. Yes, you are listening to the Commander Shipp Show. Like I said, to start, we don't have a ton of movie news. If you've been following this show for any time, you know why that is. Not just pandemic, but movie industry of a lot of industries in the U.S. and across the world has been hit the hardest. So there's been a number of reschedules. We got a couple announcements. Some you can be excited about. So we'll talk about that. We'll kind of go through that, me and Tom, and then we're gonna talk Prometheus. So we just had our first Patreon watch party for Commander's Log. Jerry likes the name. I'm still ambivalent about it, but I'm gonna see if it sticks. So we're gonna work with that for right now. And so yeah, we had a really good time. I think it was a really good blast. Drinking, talking, had a nice post discussion. I had only kind of mentally allotted for an hour, but then we ended up going to I think it was like 2 hours and a half after the movie. So we got
the entire experience I think was at least 3.5 hours.
Yeah, so it was a good time. So yeah, this is the continuation. So in that, everyone had an opportunity to chat and get their thoughts out there. We wanted our two co-hosts that we invited to that watch party to come on and kind of help solidify some more thoughts or some other conversations that we just didn't get to have about Prometheus. So while we will revisit some things that happened in the watch party, this will also be our opportunity to just kind of dig a little bit deeper. Also just to record some of the thoughts that we had too, have it for posterity, and maybe we'll change some of your minds on this movie, because you should give it another look. Definitely. Cool. All right. But with that said, we're going to get into the news. Hey, Bluetopia's like to stream. Hey, is that you, Tom?
Yeah. No, not at all.
I'll take it. All right. So, Barry Levinson hasn't shot a movie in a very long time. So if you've watched The Natural with Robert Redford, where he's playing the baseball player, lightning bat, and so on and so forth. Robin Williams, rest in peace, on Good Morning Vietnam. So that's Barry Levinson. He's coming out to do a Francis Ford Coppola biopic about the making of The Godfather. I mean, I'd honestly kind of just prefer a mafia movie, but
Yeah. So I do have to say, I'm gonna be in a hopefully not too crappy mood, but like every single one of these except for number for our third one, I'm like, who gives a crap? I'd rather see another mob movie or just another movie about criminals. Because yeah,
you would, Tom. You would.
I would.
You would.
I want to see criminals.
You want to see criminals, huh?
Yes. I want to fantasize about them instead of having them in my life.
If I could get the next Heat, I think I'd be cool with that. That's more where. But that's a hard ask.
Speaking of perfect films,
just hey, see, we brought in people that have good taste, Tom. That's a funny comment. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So I wish Barry Levinson good luck, and I'm curious because there's, if you don't know, that production was hell. It's very similar to Superman 1 and 2 trying to be shot, or at the time Superman just being shot as one large long monstrosity. So it's kind of in a similar boat. Not that part 1 and part 2 were going to be filmed together, but that there's just a lot of hell behind the Godfather set. And a lot of it had to do with the Godfather himself.
Yes. Just yes.
Wait, is Marlon Brando a problem? I hadn't heard this.
Oh. There's the showing up late, belligerently drunk, not learning lines.
They had to put his lines on billboards. And so, like, if you watch the movie, he's like, and always is looking up. That's because they had his lines on billboards because he refused to memorize them.
Yeah, they make it out to be like this great acting performance, and there's still truth to that. So it's not trying to say that what he did was shitty, but there's definitely an element of aloofness and I don't give a fuck anymore built into it. It's kind of
saying anti-method acting.
Yeah, he injected more heart into playing Kal-El or Jor-El than I think he did in The Godfather.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I didn't think about. Yeah, he's the common thread there. He's not the only reason the studio is more trouble in a Superman movie, but Brando wasn't helping. But he wasn't that bad in Superman. Godfather's pretty bad. Apocalypse Now is infamous because there's this whole fight scene that's supposed to be at the end of the movie, and Brando was overweight. Brando didn't do the work to be prepared for the scene, and he's like, I can't shoot this. Like I can't. He's hobbling around like this is not going to work, which is why I think that anticlimactic ending there still works, but there's going to be a little more grandiose there at the end of Apocalypse Now. So
he hadn't gotten yet to Island of Dr. Moreau level though.
He was teetering. He was. You're right, but he was the ship was in that direction.
Literally, the ship was in the direction to his private isle. I wonder when he got that.
Yeah,
I love the movie The Score, but I love that all his scenes had to be like, I need to be sitting down and in a sauna. That's the only way I'll film this fucking movie.
All right, next on the docket. Yeah, so we can quit shitting on Marlon Brando. Of course, maybe we could just do that as a topic. Yeah. Maybe that's what we'll do in the lead-up.
Oh, actually, I'm just hoping a repeating line from that is going to be Brando didn't do the work. Also, I do want to have like at least 5 minutes of a petulant young Nick Cage having some silly enough.
Yeah, you tell people that, and they look at you like you're stupid, and I'm like, no, he's a Coppola. He just changed his name. It's like an Estevez, like a Charlie Sheen thing. All right. Do we have any Firestarter fans in the house? No.
Silence.
Crickets. Crick, crick.
I'll say yay, yay.
Okay.
Just fill silence.
You know what? Forget you all. All right. The only reason I'm even interested in this, one, because it's a Blumhouse film, or Blumhouse film. So I'm like, okay, I love a lot of stuff they pushed out. Most recently, like Invisible Man, I thought this year was pretty darn good. Not really in a horror sense, but more in more in a thriller kind of sense. And then Zac Efron, I know everyone thinks High School Musical and like Neighbors heartthrob bullshit, but his small gigs are really good. So seeing him get pulled into this, like, I'm very curious what his part is going to be in it. But he's the lead in some form or fashion. So I don't know if he's taking Drew Barrymore's place in the movie yet, but they got him as the headliner. So I'm just kind of curious. I'm curious to see what happens here.
Wait, so Zac Efron's going to play a childhood girl that discovers fire, or discovers her ability to make fire?
Damn it! I did set you up for that. Hey, Stephen York, thank you for liking the stream. We appreciate it. Yeah, I can't even get mad at you. It was right there.
It was there.
You know, honestly, I'd be more upset if you hadn't done it. You know.
Yes, I mean, you opened that door.
You know what?
At least I didn't make some bad pun about it.
And no one took the pause, so there we go. All right. Moving on.
At least I got my victory sip in.
Yeah, you got your victory sip. Borat 2 is a go. I don't know if anyone really wanted a sequel to Borat. And then Sacha Baron Cohen's Outside, kind of another similar boat. He's been doing a lot of activism work and really put a pause on a lot of his acting career. So he's going to be that new was it Chicago 7 movie that's coming out on Netflix. So that's that's honestly the most recent thing he's done. And Borat 2, it kind of been sitting on the shelf. So a lot of people didn't know, like, he'd actually knocked a lot of it out. So much so that, like, Amazon Studios has picked it up, and it's coming out in not September now, it'll be October. So it's coming out this following month.
Yeah, wow. I'm less excited now knowing that he's done a lot of pre-work. I was hoping that he was working on it over the summer or during this election year and just skewering, like playing Borat and going to like Tulsa, Oklahoma and getting people to... Yeah.
That would be kind of hilarious. I mean, there's no telling. I mean, it's not like this is a CGI movie. There's not a heavy edit process. So, I mean, he could have added some more material in from the summer. Like, that's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
As far as this recording, I don't actually know that, so I don't know what the time frame for some of the gags were, or when he stopped.
I'm just kind of curious, is that, like, Borat is pretty well known, I would think, and at this point, I just find it very difficult for him to find people dumb enough to fall for it.
I mean, he's gonna stage some of it. I mean, because there's a lot of it that's staged, and a lot of. So I mean, so maybe you're talking about if he has to stage the entire thing because now the name is known. Is it going to be as impactful as the first Borat was, or is it going to be as funny because now it is all scripted and sketched things? Yeah, that'd be an interesting problem.
Yeah.
Did anyone watch Bruno?
Yes,
I did. Yeah.
I can't remember a damn thing about it.
Actually, now that you mention it, I'm trying. I think I'm confusing Bruno with Borat. He's got like 3 different characters that like interview serious people, and I can't remember if it was Bruno or Borat that interviewed Rand Paul. No, yeah, Rand Paul. No, Paul. His father.
RuPaul. No, sorry, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
And what kind of name is Rand? I mean, really?
Ayn Rand.
I was going to say Ayn Rand.
His dad Ron Paul loves Ayn Rand. Like
such a terrible...
that's his penthouse letters.
I bet he got picked on when he was a kid. I feel that might explain so much about him.
You won't believe this, but I swear every word of this is true. Me and the other industrialists left the country. Because he taxes too much.
You know what? Bruno, don't mess up the Zohan. Is the first thing that popped in my head. I'm trying to think about Bruno.
Ouch. Wasn't that bad. Bruno had that infamous scene where he interviews Paula Abdul and gets her to sit on people as furniture.
So people act as furniture for Paula Abdul so she can sit on them.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, this is a new trend in furniture, and then she totally goes for it.
No.
It happened. I swear to God.
That's gotta be a stage one. No. Or maybe she's just maybe she's in that rich people bubble where they get so detached from shit that if someone presents them like, hey, this is totally legal. And I'm like, what the fuck are you like, what? Really?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
All right. We'll go to our last news topic. Hey, folks, I told you it was going to be short. Well, not the whole show, just the news portion. If you were looking forward to Black Widow, well, you got to wait until the summer of 2021 because Fast and the Furious 9 and Black Widow are going to be the big blockbuster kickoff movies for 2021. Black Widow was originally going to be in November. Was originally going to be April of this year. It's been moved to November this year, and it's now finally just off the 2020 schedule. So that's not surprising. Disney's trying to milk their franchises for all they can. But I think Tenet's performance is probably the harbinger for a lot of these companies. And you could also argue Warner Brothers probably should have if there's any movie you probably keep on the schedule for this year, it's Wonder Woman 1984. And I know we just got that pushed back to December, but if there's any movie that's probably going to have legs, I'd probably would have that. Damn it, movie is going to have legs. Ugh. It makes sense. That's the right phrase for it. Damn it. Sorry. I guess if I just gone on, I wouldn't even brought any attention to it. Okay. But yeah, if there's anything that's going to have a long haul and that's a lot of their strategy right now is that you're just not going to make blockbuster money in one weekend. It's going to be over a long period of time with these releases coming out slower and slower. I think Wonder Woman would have been your better bet to start in August, at the end of August and September when Tenet came out. Because Tenet, I know it's a Nolan movie. I get it. But I think people are conflating Dark Knight Nolan money and then regular Nolan project money. Inception and Stellar did really well, they got really good word of mouth and stuff afterwards because people got, we talk about the spinner thing, everybody was talking about oh, you gotta go, Tenet just doesn't have that. Plus, if anyone does say go see it, no one cares because I'm not going to a movie theater right now. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, Kenny, is it worth dying over? That's what the review I want to hear.
I must have missed the discussion on Tenet. Did that discussion happen already? Did I miss that?
Yes.
For me to be able to throw my two.
Go ahead and throw your thoughts in right now.
You could throw your 2 cents in. I was just going to break into Harvey Fierstein about Wonder Woman's to die for. But
I was going to say if maybe a Nolan movie would be worth going to the movie theaters and dying for if it was better than Tenet, but it is not, unfortunately. if it was Interstellar or Prestige, more appropriately, I would say, hey, go ahead, risk your life out
Prestige.
there.
Prestige.
That's a low blow, man. Come on
what?
now.
Whoa. We got some non-Prestige fans in here. What's this all about?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just
no, low key, that might be his best film.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if the movie coming out right now in the middle of this was The Prestige, and people are like, is it worth risking my life to go to the movies right now to see this movie? I would say yes. But
so I gotta ask, would you say the same thing if the Star Child wasn't in it?
Wasn't in Tenet?
No, The Prestige.
Which Star Child? Is this a
David
reference?
Bowie.
Oh yeah. He's excellent in the movie. I will say that. I love him.
It's a little weird seeing him in there. I don't hate it, but it's a little weird. It took me a bit to be like,
I read that Nolan pushed really hard to get him in that role, which is really odd.
Maybe he just really wanted to meet David Bowie.
Could be.
Like, and if I tell him I want him in my movie, that'd do it.
I feel the same way about Sting and Dune.
Okay, that's weirder though. That one's more. That's worse somehow. Don't ask me to calculate the math on that one. It is.
Listen, we're gonna get Sting in this, and hear me out. He's gonna be in metal underwear the entire time, a banana hammock, just oiled up.
Yeah, that happened. Oh,
David Lynch did also make a Eraserhead though, so I mean, it's not which of those things is weirder. Probably the banana hammock chainmail.
At least Eraserhead's more interesting. Dune is terrible. Dune is awful.
What's that quote about Andy Warhol?
What's that?
He's the biggest white bullshit artist in art. That's kind of how I feel about David Lynch. I won't lie. I'm like, what's the joke? These movies aren't good.
Like, I'd rather watch a David Fincher movie. Like, I'll sign up for that in a heartbeat. But
I thought Twin Peaks was really good, but I think basically everything else is like.
I think he's getting a pass from Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, he's been riding the Twin Peaks wave for a while. All the fans are like, no, this is crap, but he made Twin Peaks. He's due. This next one's going to be good.
Oh shit! Could that apply to Ridley Scott?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, what a transition!
Yeah. So it would be a great transition if I hadn't forgot the last thing I needed to say.
Oh.
You know what? Screw it. I'll say that one. I'll say that one at the end. Let's do it. So, folks, if you don't know, if you haven't watched Prometheus, it's directed by the great Ridley Scott. Okay, that's not fair. Ridley Scott is great. Whether he's still great is the question. But Ridley Scott has done great things. Like, I don't think if you're a sci-fi director and you never watched Blade Runner, haven't been influenced by Blade Runner at some point, it's like you're just lying. That probably, we can argue about the different versions. Because Jesus, there's a lot of versions of Blade Runner. When people watch it and they're like, I didn't get it. And I was like, which one did you watch? And I'm like, huh? I'm like, yeah, see. And but yeah, we're here to talk Prometheus, and yeah, we'll get to that Ridley Scott question. Remind me when we get further along. And so setting the stage. I don't know if you noticed, folks, but the Alien franchise has gotten pretty bad. I know it's in dire straits right now, but before Prometheus, it was really bad. And I'm a person. I own Alien Cubed. I own Alien Free. I still have an appreciation for it, but I recognize it has issues. Some people hated Aliens when James Cameron came in. I can't understand that actually.
No.
Alien Resurrection, we don't talk about it. We're just not gonna talk about it. And Predators need not even really be mentioned if we're gonna be completely honest. But I love Arnold in the first one. That's basically an action movie, and then it takes a turn. If you've watched just like the first half of that movie, and there's like no mention of a predator, you would think it is just an action movie until whammo, we're being hunted by something. And then we won't talk about the concrete jungle of Danny Glover and right. And the ABP movies, which I outed myself during the watch party for owning Requiem way back when. So y'all can feel free to dig me on that if you want.
I mean, technically I do own all of those as well, but I felt obligated at the time.
I still have love for Alien Resurrection as a comedy. I have to out myself there.
Okay, with a 6-pack or like some good whiskey, yeah, it's fantastic.
It's directed by the guy who did Amelie. How fucking bizarre is that?
Well, hold on, real quick. Issa Wallow, who is that? We're getting some scripture in the chat. That's a new one. I'll give you a second to sort yourself out. If you're a bot, say yes. If you're not, say yes. Okay. Okay. Just give you and see if they're gonna keep. Or you might be getting spammed. I hate it. Ugh. I need mods. All right. Oh wait. They said yes. What?
I think I Swallow is saying that he's quoting a line from Alien Resurrection.
Is that correct?
We're just going to say that and move on.
Well, Tom. I need to know. I don't want to dunk on someone for. I don't want to dunk on someone for being a bot when they're not a bot. Now they're saying they ain't the Lord. They've come to show you the light. Wait,
if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Wait, is that the Winona Ryder lines when they're in the church? Or maybe
what's
not.
the line? I can't see the chat.
Oh, it's in the Twitch one. It's I am the Lord, I've come to show you the light. And the other one was, we are Abraham's descendants and have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be free? We shall be set free.
How they ask, what's the Alien series? What do you mean, never heard of it? All right, we're gonna compress.
Troll in the dungeon.
A troll.
Troll in the dungeon. All right. So the franchise was in dire straits. Hearing that Ridley Scott wanted to go back to the beginning of Alien and tell the story of what happened before, tell us about the space jockey, because everyone's if anticipation was at a fever pitch. And then the movie came out, and I think we just want to start there. Like, what was your when you first watched it? What were your impressions, Vartan?
Hi. I gotta say, my impressions when I first watched it, I was like, "This is a masterpiece, bona fide." I was blown away. I loved every part of it. I thought it looked gorgeous. I still do. I thought the acting was great. I thought the story was really compelling and interesting. When I walked out of the theater, all my friends were like, we just couldn't stop talking about the black goo and what the movie meant. And I remember when I was a young and naive pup, I was like, this movie is great. I can't wait to see what other people think about it. Yeah. And then for the next 7 years, I had to hear jokes about how Charlize Theron runs in a straight line. But my first impression of it was nothing but positive. I remember being absolutely blown away about it. And I saw it without any baggage. I love the Alien films, as anybody does, but like, I didn't have an emotional attachment to them. And I saw this movie as its own thing, which I think is the right way to do it. And yeah, I was really, really blown away by a lot of it. So yeah, that was my first impression.
So blown away. Yeah, but that's definitely not, definitely wasn't the consensus. And Ollie, what did you think when you walked out of the theater?
So I went in expecting it to be this big major tentpole Hollywood movie that came out during the summer. I think it was a summer movie, if I remember correctly. It was posited as a big tentpole film, and even with the R rating. And I was like, okay, so he's basically going to be taking this. Not that the first Alien or then the subsequent movies are like indie movies, certainly, but they're definitely they feel more. They almost feel more self-contained, and it's felt like this big colossal sized prequel was coming. And then as I watch it, I see that the advertising did not really show what the movie was going to be, which was that it was exactly the same type of thing, which was a horror movie hidden within the shell of this big summer sci-fi movie. And I was so happy as a huge horror fan. I couldn't have been happier with what I got. I was like, this is great. It's got the exact right, like the things people were complaining about that I won't get into because I'm assuming we'll come back around to it.
We'll get to
but
that. Just your first impressions.
My first impression was I was like, man, this is a really good secret horror movie that was hidden inside of this big sci-fi movie. I love this.
All right, Mr. the Groat.
I was excited about it because I thought it was not going to be an alien movie, because that's what they kept on doing, and I was a naive young pup 8 years ago, and thought, okay, he's going to do something in the alien universe, and just do something a little bit different. That kind of irritated me, and I'm kind of the opposite because I'm sure Barton will call me some type of filthy casual, but I don't like horror films. Horror films often rely on, or common horror films, and the type of horror film that this turned into relied on immense stupidity from the participants in the movie, and that's a couple of the things that always irritated me about the film. That said, it is a beautiful and, at least at the beginning, a wonderfully slow sci-fi film, which is one of the things I was excited about. I was hoping that I would see more like Sunshine as opposed to Friday the 13th.
Sunshine, another secret horror movie, which I love.
But it's not a stupid teenager horror film.
Okay, but but we have talked about Sunshine on here, and we have talked about like, you know, as much as there's some horror elements there, it kind of goes it jumps a little sharp. It jumps a little. It's not a full on wakeboard over Fonzie kind of jump, but it's a little jump. It's a little bit there. It's like it wasn't telegraphed that well, that ending that happens there in the last 15 minutes. So.
Oh yeah.
So okay, I can sum mine pretty short because it's pretty much it's leaning is more towards Tom's. Is that I'm a big alien junkie, so it just did not satisfy the need that I wanted or had a vision in my mind walking into that theater. I thought we were like, all right, it's probably going to be on LV-426. It's probably going to be on a planet where they're just going to start there. And then it's like, well, we're close. I'm like, okay. So then maybe they'll get there at the end of the movie. So there's literally just this laundry list of thoughts that like people had the things they didn't get answered. But I had like this laundry list of things I wanted answered when I walked into it. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, fuck, that's not what we're here for. No! No! I hate it! So that was me coming out of it. So yeah, okay. I see where everyone stands, at least how we started. All right, before we get into more analysis, or maybe how our thoughts have changed or deepened since that time, I think so. We'll keep giving more context. Is that immediately after this, and we've already kind of alluded to it, was that the internet lost its fucking mind. But it was I will say this is one of the first times it was a very unified like funnel of frustration, right? So it's not, people would argue about the things that have happened with the new Star Wars trilogy. I'm like, yeah, but that's pretty evenly split between some different camps and maybe some other thoughts that don't get expressed well. This was pretty much, this movie sucks. Why did they make these dumb decisions? And the poster child for this was a Red Letter Media review. The two guys in a bag of chips, or two guys in a I forget what the name of that one actually is.
Half in the bag.
Yeah. There you go. And they're just sitting there asking these questions while the other guy is just kind of like retreating into his face as the other one asked the questions. Like, did he know what the goo was gonna do? Why is he touching the goo? Why did this person? So he starts rattling off a lot of people's like problems with the movie, and that becomes like that's the poster child. That's the one that gets spread around a lot, and people are like, yeah, they got everything I wanted wrong in that movie, and they're but really, and I'm picking that video, but you could pick a litany of other videos. I mean, it was funny, and we said this at the watch party. It's like, yeah, those are funny, but they didn't really get to the heart of the problem with the movie, like, or Like, it didn't really deal with fan expectation versus what they actually got. It didn't really deal with what was advertised. You know, that's kind of a different pot, but maybe we can talk about later. Is that it was, you know, shot and trailers are one way, and the movie is also a different way. There's things that Ridley Scott said, and then people kind of put words in his mouth. So that's kind of where narrative ended for a while. And I would say there's been people that have always secretly, or not secretly, but have always loved it, but have kind of been relegated to the corner of the internet because you're like, you're crazy. Like, that's, you shouldn't be listened to. Would you two agree with that assessment? Like, if you love Prometheus, it's not that you can't be vocal about it, but you're just kind of like, people kind of keep your arm's length.
I definitely felt that. Yeah, I remember the poster child video. I remember was Cinema Sins.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
But it was the same thing. Like like I said, the moment I came home after seeing the movie, I had these great conversations with my friends, and I look up what people are saying about it, and it's like I was blown away at there's a crazy amount of nitpicking, crazy amount of like expectations that I didn't understand. I think that what I would say is the reason history is being kinder to the movie is people are watching the movie now the way it should be watched, which is kind of without expectation. Like, what is this movie on its own, without trying to be snarky and without trying to add it to the Alien franchise? I didn't have that baggage going in. I was just like, what's this movie going to be? And yeah, I've been getting shit for it for like 7 years now for liking this movie. I've had to hear running straight line jokes for years. People talking about removing the helmets. There's a lot of, I would say, this stuff that doesn't really matter. And I would say this, we made a joke in the beginning about how like no one wants to see a prequel to The Thing because it's like, here's how the axe got in the wall. This movie is made entirely on the premise of one shot in the Alien film of like space jockey. And if the movie had been all about, let's answer all these questions, I think that would have been terrible. Like, it's amazing how much they wrung out of one quick shot in one movie of a giant. And they didn't try to be like, we're going to answer every single question you could possibly have about aliens. Like, that would have been a horror. That would have been awful. Awful.
Yeah. Ollie, what do you think?
It's interesting that you say that about the that they wrung it out of the shot of the space jockey, because I feel like that is part of what causes Prometheus to struggle at certain times, is because the crux of the entire movie and all of this is wrung out of a thing that was like not the thing that was the most interesting part in Alien. Like, Ridley Scott was able to draw this entire film out of something that was a background thing, really, it felt like, that was like he wrung out this entire movie. It's interesting because it feels like Ridley Scott is, like we talked about David Lynch getting a pass. It's like because of Ridley Scott being who he is and his history and everything, I feel like what happened is he says, I want to make an Alien movie again, but I don't actually want to do the thing which people expect. I want to do the thing that's interesting to me right now, which is I want to focus on this thing that happened in the background with the space jockey, and then start addressing things about creation and blah, 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 making it much bigger than what Alien really was at the outset. And then the fact that he was able to have something, he was able to squeeze blood from a stone out of what he's got here with all of this stuff that he was he made it more complicated than it needed to be, is what I feel like he ended up doing sort of behind the scenes. But the fact that it still works for the most part, in my opinion, I feel like is astounding. And because I've had to put up with that kind of stuff too, like you were saying, with all of my friends, a lot of them loved it when they first saw it. And then all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, that movie was crap. And I'm like, where did this come from all of a sudden? So I think it was the internet convinced them. And that's like,
another phenomenon, because I've got a couple, Kyle, one of our other, our CEO for the site, loved it. And then he's kind of gone through, Kyle's gone through phases, and that's not surprising if you know Kyle. Ollie does. But I don't know where he sits on it right now. I should have asked him right before the show. But there's definitely been a Kyle hates this period of time. He might be back on the love Prometheus train right now, but I definitely felt watched it, loved it, and hated kind of track with Kyle there. And that's not that he's not the only person I saw that with. So at the time I was like, yeah, you've come on, yeah, you know it's terrible, yeah. But like it kept bugging me enough to where I'm like, on subsequent rewatches and conversations that I've had with a lot of people on this panel and other folks outside of this, to just like start giving it more of a harder look. Okay, so Tom, I want to at least before we get into like the things we like and the merits that we think have aged well and so on and so forth, and we talked about some of these moments in the watch party. Let's just get for the dumb list. Let's just get the dumb list out there, and we can talk. And it's not really. This is not to like expound on each one and be like, let's talk about their helmets. Let's just throw them out there and then and just kill them dead. Like, yes, we admit these might be dumb. Move on. Get over it. It happened. It's in the movie. Like whatever. And it's something we were able to explain away pretty well in the watch party, but I just kind of bring some of those up. All right.
I still, and in some ways, it helped me enjoy the movie better if I looked at this as a cautionary tale as to why private corporations should be not in the space travel business, because they may scrimp on psychological evaluations of people, and then we get decisions like, hey, this strange snake-like creature, I'm going to just try and pet it, or how they handled, I forgot his name, the painfully Irish person who showed up, who showed up at at the front of the ship, like, oh, let's just go out and get them, instead of they weren't nearly as cautious as I think they should have been, and just a lot of what you would think would be common sense protocols when dealing with an alien planet just seem to be, afterthoughts, if that. Gosh, I'm having a hard time.
Well, yeah, I'll go. Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I've got the list. Hey, I've bashed on this thing before, so it's still in the memory. All right, so we talked about helmets ad nauseum. So yeah, it was dumb. You could have any number of bacterium in the air. It's like, even if it is breathable, there could be before you even get to the pots and things. So it's like that was dumb. But also, if you think about it, the composition of the team is a lot of archaeologists and a variety of different, some of these are not bona fide lab scientists or field scientists and things like that, or whatever a space scientist would be in 2094 or whatever, during that time period. So there's at least a plausible, yeah, it's dumb, but they could also just not be thinking, they may not have been hardened to this is a bad protocol. Don't do that. Right.
One counterpoint to that is that, when they meet with when Wayland does the presentation, they're all in the basketball court.
This series in basketball courts, man.
They're talking about how oh no, we're space mercenaries. We do this all the time, a couple of times, and the hazard pay that they're getting out of it. So I while I do agree with you in some parts, but it does seem like these people should be seasoned based off of
counterpoint to your counterpoint. I find when they spend $1 trillion on a research ship, to go out here and go out and make this contact, corners have to be cut somewhere, and it sounds like the corners that they decided to cut were on the quality of the people that they hired.
It's a difference.
Which goes back to my cautionary tale,
right?
It's a difference between putting a job out on Monster.com or on a Craigslist.
one kid use coffee table and
a counterpoint.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that there's the thing that so horror films have this sense of inevitability, which some find frustrating, some love it about them, but if you really think about like how did most people in the movie die, if you take away all the dumb decisions, David would still have poisoned Holloway, and the ship would still have had to have crashed into the space jockey. And that to me is like, and if those scientists had not played with the snake would have just killed them in their sleep. So a lot of those dumb decisions, in a way, don't matter. In a lot of ways, there's an inevitability to none of the decisions they made were going to matter, because who was really in charge was Wayland through David, and he was willing to do anything and everything to experiment on them to find out what was going on. So I would say I don't think there's a single dumb decision someone made that, if change, would have made any difference. Which is kind of the crux of a lot of horror films. It's what makes them frustrating, and also what makes them frightening, is the thought that our decisions don't matter.
Ooh, you got existential horror up in the horror genre here.
You know, I would have been fine with that if it was, if the two of them were just camping out, and you see the slithering thing in the background and they don't notice it, or they keep their distance and try their best to avoid it but still get killed in their sleep. I'd be better with that than I would be with him trying to like make out with a snake and just being a slapdash biologist.
Well, I mean, there's the other thing of he could be in like this is not a jab at Steve Irwin by any means, but he could definitely be more adventurous with animals than he probably should be, especially in a first contact situation, right? So he could have overabundance of confidence from other interactions that have set him up for failure. Here, So I mean, it'd be different if it was the map guy that was sticking his face in with the snake, but the fact that it's the biologist that's doing it, and it's like he probably or if he thinks it's operating like a snake, he might think that he can handle this and is horribly wrong.
There's a
Dunning-Kruger plot device.
Yeah, it does seem like it's maybe a he's overcome because it is first contact. Like if you think about it, I think this is the first actual time that they encounter an alien in the movie. Any sort of alien species, which would then also be
living.
Yeah, okay, living, yeah, the first living one. So technically, then if you're looking even at the timeline, this would be the first alien species. Arguably the first alien species that they've encountered. Like humanity has encountered, and this guy's the first one to meet it, and he's just like, oh, and so he's overcome. But I don't know. But also probably he should be more chill.
So yeah, maybe they could rework it. But I also don't think it had to be. I don't think the hate that it got was disproportionate. Like it's a thing you can jab at, but it doesn't need to be like this is not a. In going to, I think Vartan's comment is pretty telling of like what like, and actually maybe be a great guide for even the last couple ones we do here is that would it have mattered? So maybe they could have presented it in the film differently, but was the result going to be the same? Was it inevitable that this was going to happen? Right. And I now that since he said that, I've been trying to think, is there one? And I mean, unless David gave him information about another ship earlier, so maybe they could have used that to crash into it. Like, then that's, there's a plot that's in motion with Wayland that just undermines them the entire way.
Okay, to that point, I think they had guns. They did have guns.
They had
on board.
It was they were terrible shots.
Yes, they were, but not one person had a gun pointed at the engineer when they woke him up.
They did try to shoot, but they only had one. They only had one guy with them. So they had the one. They might have been one of the only guys left. Also, after the zombie attack on the ship.
Yeah, most of the security forces got killed by geologist dude monster.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about
that. They kept hitting him, and it didn't do shit.
I actually forgot about that. That's if you want to look at it as the plot. Why weren't there more guys carrying guns? It's because conveniently they all got murked by what's the Jesus?
by a frogmaster.
Yeah. Are you gonna give the doctor a gun? Like, what the fuck's she gonna do? You got one merc left. All he was good for was hitting Shaw in the stomach. He didn't do shit against the engineer.
Mm-mm.
Let's see. We talked about the map guy in the watch party. It's like, I think that's very explainable. It's like the map man. You see it the whole rest of the movie. Once they get activated, it's like the map's not done. Like, it's still rotating. Like, the orbs are still trying to go through and find, like, map the location. So it is quite possible he just did not have access to that. The ship may have been the only place that had access to it at that time. So, although given what we can do today, it's a little sus. It's a little suspect compared to what we can do today. It's like, if we map some things out, there's some real time updates we could do right now. It's like, but I would be willing to, like, just maybe it's something they haven't thought about. So, and we talked. I think the other thing we said during the watch party was just, you think about the timing. They just got lost trying to get out during that time frame before the storm. Because once the storm happens, it doesn't matter that they're lost. Like, it does not matter. It's like they didn't get out in time before the storm. So it could have just been a turned around, and by the time they figured it out, it's too late to go out. It's like, don't go out.
Which is one reason why I specifically did not mention them being stuck there.
Yeah, but that was a common one that was like, how did the map guy get stuck in the place where he's making the map? It's like, he
also is. I think actually his fantastic line, which if I was feeling froggy enough, I would actually quote the line about how he loves rocks and doesn't know shit about gigantic dead bodies. So in that moment, I feel like answers why he got lost, because everyone else is in awe because they've found this, and he is terrified. He is genuinely terrified, and everybody else, like Numi Rapace and everybody else, is like, this is great. They're like cautiously, they're unsettled, it seems like, but still like mesmerized, whereas he seems like he is scared shitless. And so that line is enough for, it's just like, oh yeah, he got lost because he's losing his mind.
I will say, as far as horror movies go, he did everything right. He's like, let's walk away from the pile of dead bodies. He doesn't have sex with anybody, and he's the one who's cautious about the snake monster. So he did everything right. He still got killed.
He's smoking weed, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. The devil's lettuce. He got punished for that.
No, I think the weed helped give him an extra edge of paranoia to make him concerned about everything that was around him.
It's like, he probably wasn't a virgin.
So, a monster, and the other guy just died. Mm-hmm. That's how weed interacts with the goo. We didn't even think about that.
Oh, man.
That could
be. Okay. And then, so I think everything else is going to be in, like, the why didn't they answer that camp, which I don't think is in the stupid camp. I mean, we can do that, and as we talk more about the movie. I think the last dumb thing, which I think the internet has helped thoroughly debunk, and definitely was something that was on my mind when we started talking about doing this one, is Vickers and not running the straight line instead of going side to side. But I mean, honestly, I think you can think panic and just not thinking about the shortest distance. It's like, it's easy to say, like, well, duh, the easiest way to get out of that is go to the side. It's like, okay, no shit, but there's panic there. Not to mention, and I'll see if I can link the video on this show later, is there's the power line that's coming down. I think it's a power line that's coming down, and someone is standing there. And instead of doing the left or right, they go long ways trying to run away from the power line, or this power tower coming down, which I was like, holy fuck, that's really plausible. Okay, got it. Like, that's not and again, it shouldn't have been picked on that much anyway, but now there's more evidence of, like, we may not think clearly about the direction to go when that starts happening.
I agree. When a building is falling on you, I want to see how calm you are.
It's literally fight or flight, because it's like, as you look at it, like, it looks as if it's coming towards you and you're running away from it. So even though it's literally coming, like the rolling thing is following her, it is literally following her, and so she's running away from it, literally in the opposite, like in the same direction that it's running to try to escape from it, versus running away, because fight or flight.
Yeah, her brain's making the right choice, but it needs to be directed a different way.
Also, it's funny because when the thing lands, it also falls on its side. So if she had run sideways the wrong direction, she still would have died anyway.
Inevitability. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So I'll toss it up to the panel. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go next? I think we've thoroughly simmered down the dumb comments. We'll get into some of the things that didn't get answered, or that more philosophical things with it. We got a litany of ways you can go with this.
I have a thing.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've been thinking about what this movie is actually about, and the thing that strikes me is if it's about anything, if it's not just a cool-looking movie, and if it's not just a cool-looking horror film, this movie is surprisingly like anti-natalist. It is a movie about how life with a capital L is a bad thing, because every parent is disappointed in their kid, and every kid hates their parent, and everybody is disappointed with the concept of making life. Right? Like Waylon doesn't like his daughter because she's not a boy. He doesn't like David because David's not a human. David is disappointed that humans are so inferior. Holloway is disappointed that the engineers are dead. The engineers are disappointed in their own creation. The engineers worship the goo.
Why are the cows?
It's like every act of creation.
Why is this cow talking to me?
Shaw can't have a baby, and as soon as she does, it's a fucking monster. Like everything related to creation and life is fucking horrifying. And that is like the grand thesis of this movie. If it has a commanding like ethic that does not waver, it seems to be that. And I don't know if anybody else like agrees or disagrees with that, but that like kept striking me over and over watching it again.
Life is a disappointment.
Yeah, kids are disappointing, and the only thing more disappointing than that is their parents.
Existence is pain. No, I think definitely after my initial thoughts on the movie, and then that theme sticks out way more after I quit trying to fit it into an alien box, for sure. And you think of like the pains of birth, like a lack of control, right? Is that I would say like I would almost attach that with like as much as it sucks, but there's also just like a lack of Waylon wanted something to happen and it did not go the way that he thought. The engineers, even as impressive as their technology was in creation, there's multiple ways where it didn't go the way they wanted, whether it be the goo or us humans being their cows effectively in a Jupiter ascending kind of way. And then obviously you can bring in Shaw into that. It's like if you had the option to do it, would it have still gone the way that you like? Obviously, alien baby aside, it's like if you wanted to try to conceive, how would it? And certain things, fertility, whatever, would it have still gone the way that you wanted? Right. So there's like this whole you're talking about the expectation, Fred, but then like there's a lot of people trying to exert a control that does not actually go the way that they want it to. Cool. Ollie?
I love that there's so much philosophical stuff going on in this movie. Like I feel like it's interesting that I was saying there's some of this stuff in Alien, like it way in the back about like, the positives and negatives about AI and stuff like that with the androids, and can you trust androids and stuff like that. But I feel like Ridley Scott decided that he wanted to like really go head first into like the philosophical stuff, and then have the horror movie kind of happen in the background. And that's why I just love that it introduces all of these things like disappointment in parents, disappointment, in children, and it's introducing all of these great grand ideas. Creation, where do we come from, and then the interesting fact that the movie doesn't really come out and say something that I thought was interesting is that it feels like the movie would come right out and say, there is no God, and the very atheist movie. Whereas like the movie doesn't really feel like it does that. Like it feels like it starts doing that, but then by kind of towards the end, no, because wait. Think about this. Because Shaw survives, and she's the only true believer in the entire group, as the one who believes in believes in the afterlife, believes in God, and blah blah blah. And so she's the only one who survives, and her point about like, where did the engineers come from? Could have been a great creator beforehand, and I feel like it seems like the movie is going heavily into that it's an atheist movie, but I feel like it doesn't go all the way into it per se. But I do feel like even as an atheist, I feel like it was interesting that that the movie is not like it presents it as if it's like, haha, she's dumb, she was wrong this whole time, but then it's like, maybe not necessarily, she can still feel what she wants. I found that
for a film that supposedly is not being not necessarily being an atheist movie, it's certainly heavy-handed with the anti-Christianity symbolism.
Yes, and I would agree with that.
I mean, it is a sledgehammer of having an android who told her like minutes before that her God doesn't exist, taking off the cross from her body, other things like that. But I think more that she's the last one to survive so that she can ruminate on the fact that she's faced her creators. Her creators tried to kill her. She survived, and now she's flying to their homeworld. As opposed to, she survived because she had faith.
Well, okay, so I don't know if I necessarily want to say that she's survived because of her faith. I think it's more of like I think it's more about a journey of her faith, right? Is that there's a circumstance, like you've been confronted with and this is another thing too that we don't necessarily and this is like a question that yes, we see the engineer fall into the water and earth, so on and so forth. But her statement about who makes them, I think, is very telling, right? It's like, if we keep making the cow joke, but it could very well be true, is that we were just some fodder for this group. But does that mean humanity doesn't have some other origin or some kind of possible thread that doesn't tie to the engineers? Was everyone sprouted up from them? Is there some other planet that might have humans that have no relation to engineers? Is there another set of engineers that sprouted up and said, those guys are weird, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, we're gonna go off and do our own thing? And like when I think about like there's a very common thread in Christianity about faith being tested, and you can argue about the quote unquote enemy is going to try to test you or try to shake you in your faith. So when David takes the cross, right, and then that's kind of like the starting point for a lot of like, yeah, she's already having questions, but that's the starting point for a lot of shit to happen. And then she takes it, or requests it back, and gets it back by the end, and he makes that statement of I think it's like he says like even now, or still like even still after everything that's happened, which kind of continues our conversation about what they're about to do when they leave the planet. So like sure maybe she did survive because of her faith. We could talk about that, but I think the movie is like about her faith quote unquote journey, where it's shaken. She's probably still gonna have a ton of questions at the end of it, but she hasn't recounted or given that up by the end.
Yeah, I would say it's not that she survives because of her faith, but her faith survives. And I don't know where I would come down on this, but I say there's two ways to read this movie. Either if it's anti-creation all the way, then you could see it as being atheist, because every act of trying to create life ends up being negative. But the flip side of that is then the problem is playing God. And so that should only be reserved for God is another way of reading it. That the reason Wayland fails and the reason the engineers fail and the reason why going to the engineer planet fails is because the material source of existence isn't what's important. It's the immaterial spiritual source of existence. So I think there's an atheistic and a Christian reading of the film. I don't know which one I fall down on. I think they both kind of make sense, right? It's like every act of creation in the movie is negative, but the one Christian survives, and her faith survives, and she still believes that God is important, regardless of who materially made anything.
This movie is actually fading from my brain, and actually, I'm angry at Prometheus because it made me watch Covenant on Sunday. But is there actually a conversation of her saying, yes, I still believe in God, or anything like that near the end after she gets the cross? Because really, I mean, that cross is her dad's.
No, David says something like, how can you believe after all this time? And she says something like, you're a machine, you wouldn't understand. That's what he says when she gets the cross out.
But see, like, but I don't think that that's an answer. Like, I mean, she could have just, like, in my mind, I thought it was more sentimental value than religious value for her. But
which I guess you could also read into it that way too, because he's a machine, he wouldn't understand that it holds sentimental value. You could also look at it that way.
That's an angle of that conversation that could change the meaning of it, because she's seeing it or references to it and all the flashbacks of her dad too. Yeah.
I mean, and there's a part of me that thinks that we're doing a lot of mental masturbation on this, because like, you know, the first Alien wasn't, you know, at least the way I take it, it's a popcorn film. It's a popcorn horror film. Same with Aliens. Alien 3 was very similar to that. And there wasn't a lot of deep philosophy in those. And maybe Ridley Scott's getting that way in his old age. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what he's trying to say with Raised by Wolves. But I sometimes wonder if, you know, a cigar is just a cigar in this case. You know, is this just a story of a bunch of dickhead scientists making fun of the one believer? Or is there something deeper to that?
Yeah, but I feel like this might be one where it's served up for us more. Right. So
yeah.
So he's not holding her hand. He's not holding her hand for it. I think that's very obvious. He's not holding her hand for it at all. So I think it's serving up these volleys that we have to, like, you could take that idea and run with it. And how do you feel about it in this moment or scene by the end of the movie? Or you can just, and kind of going back to the popcorn flick things, like, you could completely just drop that and then watch the rest of what happens. I mean, I think it kind of robs a part of the experience, but it's like you could technically do that. And I think that is also an available vein in this movie.
Good sci-fi shouldn't have you leaving the movie with more questions than answers, but I hope we're not diving too deep into it.
I would disagree on that, because there's already a version of this movie that's exactly what it appears and has nothing to say about anything, and that is Covenant. So I think it's like I don't think we're just masturbating over nothing. I think there's some lofty ideas in this movie for sure.
I think that's partly where, if you want to get down to where the movie does or doesn't work, you can get into it in the fact that this is a popcorn horror movie hidden inside of a big heady sci-fi movie, where arguably neither of the things work as well as the best of those genres, simply because it's both of those things don't mesh as well as they don't mesh in this movie as well as they should. And so that's a lot of those questions. There are very good, very, very good philosophical things and cool things going on that I don't think there's not enough of a through line, because it's still at its core a slasher movie. Basically. And I think that would be where the movie struggles. As much as I like it, I feel like, because it's both of those things are somewhat incomplete.
And I think it's so I think we all agreed that if it was just gonna try to answer alien questions the entire movie, that would be a shit show. So it's like, so we're gonna put that off the table. But to what you just said, I do think even if it was still gonna be set loosely in the alien universe, but it was just like yeah, you might recognize some things, but we're not really interested in answering anything before Alien. It's going to be in the universe. It's going to be its own thing. And then you proceeded with this either side. It's like we're gonna give you another slasher. It's gonna be in a different setting. Cool, check, got it. Or we're gonna give you this heady masterpiece and just like let you dive into the weeds here. I think that also check, because those incomplete pieces. It's like going back to the questions that did or didn't get answered. Right, having to force these scenes or have to force, and and I think that's the other thing. Like when I was talking about, I came in with my bag of I'm going right, because you spent like the first time watching, you spend time in the movie thinking, how is this going to line up? And at the time, we didn't know there were going to be extra movies, so we thought this was going to be the only one that connects to Alien. So you're like, all right, I guess. So is that going to be, and that's going to turn into the and you're like you're like searching for these links that just ain't happening, because that's not this movie. And I was like, it would be better if you could just take all those teases out and just fuck the space jockey. Like they could still be engineers, but like fuck it being space jockey. Fuck using the same ship that was gonna be like, just do it like self-contain it so that you can have that conversation with Holloway and Shaw and Wayland. But it just happens on this planet, but it really doesn't have any connection to the jockeys. And I think if you can just hard stop that, and that's what I mentally do when I'm watching anyway. I just kind of imagine like, I don't, it's just an engineer, some dude, some guy that made humans on Earth, right? It's not connected, because I enjoy it way better.
Yeah, I agree. To me, the questions that I wanted answered in this movie that didn't get answered have nothing to do with it, how it fits in the Alien franchise. My questions are Shaw's questions. Like, what were the engineers doing, and why did they do what they did? That's why, like I said, I watch it as a standalone film. Its connection to the Alien franchise is very irrelevant. Like, and you find that out at the end. You're like, oh wait, the source of the Alien original design was a giant face hugger and engineer. Whoop-de-doo, who gives a shit, right? Like, that's not the interesting question. The interesting question is like, what is creation? Where do we come from? And why did these things happen? And those questions, I mean, there's no satisfactory answer, so that's why they don't get answered, which some might call a cop-out, but I think it makes the movie interesting.
No, that's accurate.
Yep.
I wish every franchise could have something like this. So like I wish that we could get a Transformers prequel that is ruminating on the creation of humanity. I'm totally kidding. but I love the
Alpha Trion shows up to Earth and
exactly.
Sorry, my brain immediately thought about like the creation of Cybertron and like, why am I a truck in space when I've never been on Earth to become a truck? Like, what am I?
Every franchise needs this.
How do you evolve?
Fast and the Furious.
No, see, unfortunately, the Michael Bay answer is going to be Rick Sanchez actually does end up time traveling, and he's so pissed off he builds a planet, and then he makes these robots, and one says, "What is my purpose?" He says, "You're a truck in space."
And then he forgets about him.
Space trucker.
All right. So I guess let's go for a couple last things, and we can kind of start to wrap the topic for tonight. So we haven't talked about David yet. And when Tom was talking about watching Alien Covenant, that's the main reason I wanted him to bring up or be able to have a chance to rewatch or watch Covenant, because I wanted to talk about we talked about the context, things that people hated about it, and the thing that I hate about Covenant so much, and I see it when David's having his conversation, is that there is some version of Covenant that's just with David and Shaw, just trying to explore things about the engineers, or maybe even that group still interacts with them, but it leads to a different story, a different conversation. Like, but because of the backlash from Prometheus, I know there were changes to what Ridley Scott originally envisioned for Covenant. So like the thing that makes me sad is one, watching David in Covenant makes me enjoy Prometheus a lot more because then I'm sitting back watching him like you fucker, oh, right. And I already felt that way, but I'm like, oh, like I think his performance just gets better in Prometheus watching Covenant. But Covenant's trash. Like it's really
so fucking bad.
It's so fucking bad. The only reason I own it is just for David. I don't say I skip. Well, okay. I do like seeing the ship intro in the beginning of the like. So I actually do really like that sequence right up till the fire in the was it the fire in the whatever life support bay shuttle bay thing, yeah. And then just watch David scenes, all the fingering the flute and all. You know.
You blow, I'll do the fingering.
Though he doesn't, I was very disappointed. He doesn't say you blow. He just says, I'll do the fingering. And then we'll make beautiful music together.
That's the natural line after that.
It's an implied blow. Yeah, he's just, go on.
That line is silly because someone thought we made it up in the first chat. They were like, he doesn't really say that, does he? It's like, yeah, he fucking says that.
I think it was in the trailer, too.
That's the movie.
Oh, man. So, Prometheus is messy as far as those two possible tracks, but I think that's where Covenant just is like, all right, screw the questions. We're just going to give you an extra dose of David, which I appreciate it. I was like, and then everything else is nonsensical. Like, if you think about some dumb decisions that happen, like, Covenant is the poster child for dumb decisions, and Prometheus is just like the second cousin, and it gets conflated as like the worst offender.
Yeah, the thing that kills me about Covenant is that they're trying to create this bridge from the space jockey to the first Alien movie, and I feel like Covenant should have had that bridge of a different type of story where maybe David inevitably gets a face hugger on a space jockey as he's flying to a planet filled with a bunch of egg sacs or something like that. But there's absolutely no connection to it whatsoever, or no bridge, I should say. Also, I'll say this. I might. But, well-known and famous directors and producers, when they start talking about making prequels to their beloved movies, maybe they should stop and think twice.
What? You mean there's not a good track record for that? What?
According to Rotten Tomatoes, there isn't.
I would say, though, if more prequels were like Prometheus, the world would be a better place, because most prequels are like Covenant, where they are trying to desperately bring back the glory of the original films. And the one thing, I don't care how much you hate Prometheus, you got to give it up for that movie for, like, if you could watch that almost entire film and have no idea it has anything to do with aliens until literally the last scene after the credits.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is better. Like, because we all know what the other version of it is. If you argue with me, I'll be like, the other version is Covenant and it's worse. And most prequels are Covenant level bad.
Yeah.
Especially if they come out 40 years later. Like, give me another prequel that came out 2 generations later that's this good. It's a short list.
Well,
at least.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say at least this wasn't like David building Bishop. Or something like that. Like, I mean, thank God for that. It's nothing worse. Like that.
But I will say one thing that Kenneth, when you're talking about unanswered questions, now I want a prequel that shows us how predators got their hands on aliens.
I would kind of be interested in that. Like, did they get a jar of goo? Did they possibly get a set? Did they get one of the, like, have they visited LV-426, or did, like, David go drop some stuff off of another, like, how many other installations or things has he created since he got off that planet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just dropped by the Predators. Here, I think you guys might like this.
Mm-hmm. I see you guys like to hunt.
So me and Tom talk about a lot of how much I hate blockbusters right now. We haven't really dove into my hate for the MCU yet, but I know it's going to come. But if there's anything I want to give towards Prometheus is that I appreciate the attempt, though. Like, for the budget and the money that's put into this, right? Because and I'm not trying to say like it's one thing if an indie studio tries, but no one expects the indie studio to do anything, and they don't have the money to, like, when they do something, it's like, right? But that's it, right? Everything's been packaged and trying to conform to a certain formula for a lot of these big blockbusters of like, now you got to make sure you hit this, and this so that you don't fail with this money we've given you, right? So if there's anything, like, I know I could pick on Ridley Scott for some for decisions and so on and so forth, but I appreciate the attempt. It's like I like that you really rolled some dice on this one, and all of them didn't land the way you may have wanted to, but you still rolled those dice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's the other reason we're not seeing a bunch of other sci-fi chances or attempts happening right now. You know, some of our best sci-fi is happening in TV and not even movies. Or you got to go to go back to again, kind of Brad told us, indie studios to get good sci-fi stories. You know, Star Trek doesn't count. Star Trek Beyond and that shit. That's not no.
No, because that's as formulaic as a Marvel film.
Oh God, yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so
disillusioned. But something like The Arrival.
Yeah, Arrival.
I think
Arrival will be in that category. Arrival will be in that. Yeah, Arrival will be in that category. What are you gonna say?
I would say there's one movie that's more baffling than this one, and that would be Blade Runner 2049. As far as, I can't believe that was a good movie. Like, if you told me a modern update of Blade Runner was getting made for $200 million, I would have been like, that's going to be trash. And it was fucking amazing. Yeah. And it didn't do all the things you fear a movie's going to do if it's a sequel from a 1980s, beloved classic.
Kyle knows this story that in 2015, before the summer of 2015, I was upset. I was vehemently upset that Jurassic World was coming, that Mad Max 4 was good. Like, there was a bunch of, and I think Terminator Genesis. So there's just like there are these free prequel-esque or like continuations of a story like thing happening, and I'm like, I was at my wit's end. I'm like, no, stop it, quit it, cut it out, right? And then also, yeah, we know Jurassic World's trash, even though it made $1 billion, which, and then Genesis was trash also. But when Mad Max happened, like, if you had told me at that time when I was having my little tizzy that you were going to love Mad Max and it's probably one of the best action movies that's ever been made, I would have found a gun and shot you. I would have said, no, you come back here, right? I think that's the most recent whiplash example for me, where I was like, in the fear, like, I can't. This is good. This is amazing. I'm upset that I'm wrong.
After all the delays, everything happening, everything happening, all the delays, all the changes, I was like, they're like, oh, Mad Max is getting pushed. They need to reshoot stuff. I was like, this movie's gonna be garbage, isn't it? I've been wanting this movie to happen since I heard about it, and then the reviews come out, and it's like, oh, they did all those delays and everything because they were trying to make a good movie, and they succeeded. I never thought I would see a day where they would make a sequel to Road Warrior that so invalidates Road Warrior. Like, it basically, like, the movie shouldn't even exist, because it's like, why would you ever watch Road Warrior when you could just watch Fury Road, because it's just better. All of those things it does better. And World Warrior was considered maybe one of the greatest action movies of all time, and it's just like, let's just put that in the trash now.
The convoy
because Fury Road is so good.
It was constantly like, when you think about like AFI top 10 like action lists and things like that, they're like, it was constantly like, this is the peak of cinema as far as like a constructed, like, you understand the pace, you understand the stakes, you understand where everyone is like in location, like this, it's amazing. And then
Yeah, imagine that, but better and for 2 hours straight.
with the same type of philosophical questions that we're asking in Prometheus. Not the same questions, but the same, but almost trying to ask questions too. Where it's just I like it.
I call Mad Max a perfect movie. It's like watch it once a year at least. It is does everything right.
Have you watched the black and white version?
I haven't. I should.
It's really good. It's a nice little twist on it. I know that happened around the same time. Like they did at first. Logan did a black and white version, and if you haven't watched the noir black and white version of Logan, that's also very good. And it's like,
I'll have to check that out.
Yes, definitely do that. But when I saw Mad Max do that, actually they had a special showing for it in the theater as well. It was like for a month. I think it was you like blink and you missed it. But yeah, that was I got those versions around here somewhere. But yeah, it's really good.
If we're doing a list of movies that shouldn't be that good, I say Logan and Dredd both belong on that list.
Dredd is so good.
No, Dredd is. I know a lot of people have some type of strange love for Judge Dredd, but Dredd is. Judge Dredd doesn't exist after I watched that one.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
It's ridiculous. And Logan, after everything that X-Men have kind of devolved into, I was like, what is happening? This is like every second of this movie is good.
And,
by the way,
go ahead.
Dredd is basically the format that I wanted the Black Widow movie to be. There's a corporate tower, there's something at the top she needs to get to, and there's just a whole lot of stuff in her way that she has to kill.
Yeah, they're going too big with it.
They're making. I mean, even though they have Hopper in it, they're making it too big. It should just be her doing an op for the entire time and just murder.
Yeah, and again, but this is what happens when you don't do that. Like after Iron Man 2, that should have been the easiest green light. Ever. Like I don't know why you had what were you thinking about? It's like, oh no, we got to fit it in phase. I'm like, or you just get go hire a dude, get someone that get the raid choreography in here and let's go. All right. Yeah, I should have had some amazing sequence before Daredevil did it, if we're going to be completely honest. But that's a whole nother. I feel another tangent building up. I need to push it down. All right.
We can't talk about Daredevil without mentioning Old Boy, though. Like the best part of Daredevil was its homage to Old Boy.
Yeah.
I will say there are tiers to good movies, and I've seen 3 hours of videos just on that one scene in Old Boy, and that's talk about top tier good movie. But I digress.
You digress. All right. Let's do one final round. So you could throw another piece that we didn't get to talk about, or if you want to give one last topic, or one last comment on the movie, and then we'll wrap. So let's, Tom, do you want to start us off?
I am going through the 7 stages with Prometheus, is where it's I think it's a beautifully done film, but then there's these, the philosophy of inevitability aside, there are just some plot points that just irritate the crap out of me. And I think it's a beautifully done, good, slow sci-fi film for the first 45 minutes. Love it. When it starts shifting gears to, Friday the 13th, and the person that initiates sex dies first.
That's just fact. That's just the rules.
Captain
Yes. Yes. And actually, no, I'm wrong, because technically it's Vickers and the captain that are the first to do the thing.
But Vickers initiates.
Yeah.
He will die, though.
They do both die, yes.
I guess he does die first because I forgot the ship crashes. Okay, whatever. Sorry, keep going.
But yeah, I think all in all, it's still good sci-fi, and I think we should have just left it at Prometheus and not done Alien Covenant. But yeah, and that's the thing that it, like, loses half a point or a quarter point with me, is because it made me watch that other film.
No, you can throw that point onto Ridley Scott. You don't have to take it away from Prometheus.
Okay. Damn it, Ridley.
Yeah. All right. Ollie, you want to go next?
I think that I'm willing to, I don't want to say entertain, but I'm willing to consider that maybe I'm more willing to give everything a pass in Prometheus because of my love of horror, because I've watched so much Drek and so much crap that the fact that the movie is competently made and is pretty straightforward, that the fact that there are some really dumb shit that happens in the movie is not nearly as dumb as some of the shit that I see in other horror movies that I've watched repeatedly. As someone who ordered the Scream Factory entire collection of Friday the 13th, happily, I might add.
Oh yeah, man, that's good.
Which comes out in 2 weeks. I'm pretty excited for that. I'm very excited. I'm willing to give the movie a pass, and a lot of the stuff I feel like, on a personal level, I'm able to overlook a lot of the flaws of the movie simply as, it's suspension of disbelief. I'm fine with this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I just love the movie, and I just really enjoy, for it being such a dark and weird movie, and this big heady thing, I just enjoy the hell out of it, and I wish more people did.
Yeah. All right, and then lastly, Vartan.
Yeah, I was going to say, my thoughts have tempered a little. I used to think it was an absolute masterpiece. I think now I would more calmly say it's a very, very good movie. But I think the things we haven't touched on, surprisingly, there are moments in this film that are transcendent. David's performance, certain scenes where, like, they're just, if you pause it, you could just stare at it and it'd be gorgeous. So many gorgeous single shots. And I would say that the C-section scene is one of the most viscerally unbelievable experiences I've ever had in a movie. That it will never be more iconic than the chestburster scene, but in some ways, I would almost say it's better, if not very worthy. It is an unbelievable sequence in like, if I had to make a list of my favorite 2 minutes in movies, that would be on there.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think that if it's your first time watching this movie in 2020, it would be a great benefit, because I think you would think, this is a well-acted movie that looks fucking amazing. It has certain set pieces that just blow you away, and they, to me, override the film as a whole. Like, certain sections just, like, I'm like, holy shit, it makes you, like, it dominates kind of the landscape of the film. And so that's what makes it, like, a really great film, but I watch it, like, once a year. Every couple months I get the urge to watch it.
Yeah. Going to the cinematography, like, and you see this in The Martian as well, with some of the, like, landscape shots on Mars, like because Ridley doesn't gloss over those moments. It's not like, it's like there's a great video on, like, how do you show a transition in someone's life in a movie, and it's like, yeah, you can show them in a moving truck going across a bridge and have some, like, dubbed over monologue and bullshit. And then they give the example of Hot Fuzz, where Simon Pegg's character, like, you see a lot of shit happen in a very short time frame when he's on that train, and you can tell he's getting delirious, and in the way they, like, smash those cuts together. It's like, yes, he's moving towns, but there's a lot of information that you gather there as well. So, like, when you see these, like, long shots, or you see the one in that transition with the ship going across, you could almost think it's just a star, but it's actually a ship, like, going across across the stars there. How tumultuous it is, like when they're initially going through the atmosphere, and then it breaks, and you get into that great shot of the kind of going back to the landscape. I'm like, that's a great communication of this like grandeur and like if I feel like we're exploring, it's like, yes, I think that did a very good job of making me invest in this exploration just with these shots. So nothing felt wasted there. Cool. I have one last one, and we mentioned it before the show started, and this gets back to, I know I just gave Ridley Scott some praise, but and this, we may not have fully formed thoughts on this right now. We were talking about him getting it passed because of everything he's done, but has he lost it, or is he just kind of like getting a little more hit and miss in his later in his career, or is there some other option that we haven't considered?
Yeah, I'll jump into that because I think he fell to what I'm now going to start famously calling the Lucas effect of when you become Ridley fucking Scott, people don't check you as hard as when you're just a director. Even Michael Bay gets checked more than Ridley Scott probably would. Just like George Lucas when he just said, "Hey guys, I'm making the prequels," and even if he was actively even if Lucas was like, "Listen, I need you to criticize this," no one's going to have the balls to tell Lucas, maybe not this. Maybe this wasn't the right choice. And I think Ridley Scott kind of fell into that same piece, is that nobody was there to really stop him or have him rethink a couple of stories. So, and I think from that is where we're getting some of this whole hit or miss feeling. I also wanted to throw in that since you brought up The Martian, it made me think about the theme differences between The Martian and Prometheus, which were both beautifully done, but The Martian was celebrating competency, and whereas in Prometheus was just this collection of like mishaps and things that were going, inevitability or not. But yeah, I think that Ridley Scott is not losing his touch necessarily. I think it's that his touch is not being checked.
Okay. Ollie, what do you think about that?
I think that's a really good point, because there's so many times that this has happened. A great example that I can think of, perfect example, in fact, as a companion, is Dan Aykroyd, as the writer of Ghostbusters, always had somebody there to tell him when he had stupid ideas, and then you had enough people collaborating on Ghostbusters, and then you made this great thing. Because then Dan Aykroyd, very, very famous, successful Dan Aykroyd, wrote Ghostbusters. Then he writes and directs Nothing But Trouble. And if you're not familiar with that movie, I would like to watch that movie with all of you, because that's an example of somebody not checking somebody that has become famous and successful. And holy God, it is the dirt fucking worst. It is so bad. So I 100% agree with your point, because I've seen that. Because Lucas isn't even the only one. I think that even if you hate the prequels, which everyone probably should, I think that Nothing But Trouble is even worse. Please, let's watch that. Please, if you Kenny, have you seen that?
I feel like I'm confusing it with who's the two stars in it? Demi
Moore and Chevy Chase.
That is what I was thinking about. That movie's trash.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Because once they get in the house, it's just like maybe like when they're on the road getting like God, I can't. Oh, I have. Oh man, it came on TV. Everyone, yeah. Well,
we could devote a whole episode to this because about the incompetence of this movie, the fact that it's like 3 movies that are fighting each other at the same time. Like it's
like
not
Hancock.
so it's not like
Right.
Prometheus. It's not like Prometheus because Prometheus is like these 2 incomplete movies that more or less go together, but you can see the gaps between them. Nothing But Trouble is literally 2 or 3 movies that are punching each other in the face.
So the pages of a script kind of got mixed together. A couple other ones sitting on the table, and then they're just
Yes, it's very bad.
Is
Please,
John
let's
Candy
watch
in there
that.
too?
Yes, John Candy is actually excellent in the movie, and everyone else is trash.
I think
Chevy
that's the only
Chase
thing I like.
is the dirt worst. I used to like Chevy Chase as a child.
Oh, Chevy Chase is
and
trash.
Then I learned as I got older.
Yep.
All right.
Never understood.
All right. So hold on. Before we get too far, gotta let Barton,
I know. I'm sorry.
we gotta let Barton jump in because I see his face, and I think he's got some thoughts. So I'm gonna let him have the flow.
I will refrain from defending the sequels because we don't have 6 hours. Or the prequels, yeah, the prequels. Sorry, but I will say this about Ridley Scott: people have to remember he is a director and not a writer, and that sometimes creates wild disparities in quality. So I went through his IMDb, and like between Blade Runner and Gladiator was like 18 years of nothing. 18 years.
It's kind of like
Of him
George
just
Miller a
writing
little bit.
Prometheus.
Well, hold
But
on.
no,
There's
then
a
so he
thing we
also
hadn't
directed
talked about.
Hannibal.
But go ahead.
He directed Hannibal after Gladiator, and Hannibal is, I think it's in my top 10 worst films ever made. I fucking hated that movie. And then he does Black Hawk Down right afterwards, one of my all-time favorites. So he's never not been spotty with projects. His eye, I think Prometheus proves the eye is still there. I haven't seen the last film he made was called The Journey and All the Money in the World. I didn't see those 2, but if he could go 20 years between Blade Runner and Gladiator, I think like he could make a couple of suspect projects and it still doesn't make me lose faith in him. Like Prometheus and The Martian, I think proved the eye is still there. And if he makes some crappy projects in the meantime, it's because he's not a writer, and I don't think he might be suspect in making choices, but if it's nothing new. Like if you're saying nobody checks him, it's like holy shit, he directed Hannibal. Like, have you seen Hannibal? It is so fucking bad, and that was sandwiched between Gladiator and Black Hawk Down. Like, holy shit, I fucking hate that movie. So
have you seen Red Dragon?
What's up?
Have you seen Red Dragon?
I recently rewatched it. That one's actually pretty okay.
Okay. Sorry, I was just curious. Yeah.
He also made Matchstick Men.
I love Matchstick Men.
That was Scott?
Yeah, that's Ridley Scott. I think G.I. Jane also.
That's the good Nicolas Cage.
Sometimes I get the Tony Scott movies blurred together in that early 2000s time period, like that, or that like late 90s, early 2000s. There's some things I'm like, that's Tony. That's Tony. No, that's Ridley.
Yeah.
And maybe I might be mistaken then.
So wait, it was Ridley, Tom?
No, I had another thought. Go on.
Come on. All right.
Oh, here, I'll look it up.
My last thing on, and I love that y'all brought up writing. Ridley Scott did not write Prometheus. One of my villain, my arch villain in cinema, until Watchmen came out, has been the law firm of Orsi, Kurtzman, and Lindelof for a very long time. And this is one of Lindelof's first solo-ish. There was still someone else writing with him. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. But this was mainly a Damon Lindelof baby, and I can't believe I haven't brought that up. I can't believe I didn't bring it up at the watch party, and I didn't until now.
I was waiting.
So had this been a year ago, I'm sure I would have launched into a tirade on Lindelof, but with the Runaways and with Watchmen, I've kind of had to okay, maybe he's finally looking back at his old projects and being like, that could have been better, and actually tried writing, actually get like improving on his craft. Because if you haven't watched Watchmen, I mean that was the new series that was on HBO was fantastic. Like I loved everything that happened in it. So I'm like, man, if we could have had him come back and clean up this Prometheus script, I wonder how much better this material for Scott to work with would have been. So I think that is kind of a misnomer, is that as much as Scott has control over the project, he's still not writing these. So I'm sure he's got some input into it, but he's still not the one writing these.
He did direct Matchstick Men and G.I. Jane. I looked that up just to make sure that I wasn't just talking out of my butt.
Matchstick Men was a good movie. It's the rare, good, non-crazy Nicolas Cage. He's just solid. He does a good job.
90s Nick Cage, man. That guy's gold. Put the bunny down.
Nick Cage, ironically, talking about a big gap in between movies. Nick Cage being in Color Out of Space, which is the first movie that Richard Stanley directed since he was fired off of Island of Dr. Moreau 20 years ago.
Oh my god!
Fun. There you go.
Gosh.
There's your connection.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Like we were talking about Max. George Miller was like shooting documentary or like scuba shit in Australia between like the last Mad Max and Mad Max. Or no, he did like Surf's Up or a penguin thing. He did one weird bizarre movie in between.
Yeah,
Mad Max.
It was like Happy Feet or something like it, didn't he?
It might have been Happy Feet. I can't remember.
I'm gonna look at it.
Cool.
Yeah, George Miller directed Happy Feet. What the fuck?
I was just scrolling through
it too. Like that wasn't like somebody roped him into it. He was into that project.
I remember just seeing it. I was like, I had to like do a double take. I'm like, this is a typo, right? Like so. They meant like, and it's gone. The fact that I had this perfect joke queued up, and it's not happening. All right. Well, folks, I think that will wrap it for our Prometheus chat. Tom, I know you were looking something up. Did you have any?
Nope.
Okay.
I got sidetracked there, and I was actually putting up our notes.
How could you?
I know.
All right, Tom. What are you watching this weekend?
Well, since we didn't do last week, I'm going to bring it up, and it's I don't care if anyone thinks that I'm a basic bitch for it. Enola Holmes, go see it. It is the most delightful film. It isn't edgy. It isn't anything other than being just freaking delightful and well done. Also, I believe I've been trying to find this out from a couple of different websites. Big Mouth Season 4 is either premiering this Friday or next Friday. So keep that out. And I think that is it. Though I am keeping an eye out for All of Mankind, which is an Apple TV series, which imagines
where Russia gets to the moon first, and it.
Yep. So I may start that this weekend. I don't know yet. It depends on if Big Mouth comes out.
All right. I know, Ollie and Vartan, we didn't prep you for this, but are you watching anything this weekend?
Can I give a non-recommendation?
A non-recommendation? Oh, my. Sure. That's a first.
So I watched The Devil All the Time.
Oh, my gosh. We might fight. Here we go. Go ahead.
And
somebody didn't read the notes.
Well, that technically was from last week. I just don't. No, did we type that? No? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Dig your grave.
No, I don't want to say I want that 2 hours of my life back, because I probably would have wasted it doing nothing. But it was very much a nothing film that was very pointless and long, and it looked really good, and I was really excited for it, and I was very, very disappointed. And there's not been anything that came out that I've been interested in for a while, so it was kind of heartbreaking. On the flip side, I just started The Boys season 2, and that was amazing. The first episode was incredible. I've heard great things about the rest of the episodes, and that's the most recent thing I've seen that I would recommend. Don't watch Hoops on Netflix. I also saw that, and that is total garbage.
Hoops?
Yeah. It's a new show, and it's
TV. I just don't have enough time. I don't have time.
Yeah, it's just it stands on the shoulders of much better filthy animated films. It's trash.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of it looks Family Guy-ish in animation.
Oh no.
Well, much less original, if that means anything to you.
Oof.
I mean, so is Big Mouth, but I love Big Mouth. Okay.
Big Mouth is pretty funny, yeah. But yeah, that was my reviews of stuff that isn't fucking 8 years old that's actually relevant.
All right. And then lastly, Ollie, did you have any?
Disappointingly, I don't watch anything newer than 8 years now. No, honestly, I don't really watch TV. Not because I don't like it, but it's more of a time issue, and I don't want to devote the time to like a big long series. Mostly because like I heard what happened in the last season of Game of Thrones, and I'm like, why would I ever watch a TV show? Like at this point, like devote that much time to a TV show from the start if it's going to end like this.
Because man,
because I definitely felt burned by Doctor Who when it was like, because it started to get a lot worse when I was watching it.
So you played yourself.
I did, and so then I was like, wow, I don't watch much TV. I believe, isn't there like a new Walking Dead starting this weekend?
Supposedly, yeah.
Okay. I only know this.
Stones. Jesus Christ.
Every time I'm reminded that show still exists, I just
So
upset.
I was actually going to say, because this has been my rant for the last couple of days, I'll keep it very brief here at the end, about Walking Dead. Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is I mentioned this to Kenny. Wizards of the Coast has done a very, very bad, weird thing. So they make Magic the Gathering, and they have been doing a new product called Secret Layers, which have been full of really cool alternate art reprints of a lot of older cards that have been desirable, and they're getting cool artists in here that are totally breaking with the style of Magic normally. Like they've got like tattoo artists doing some of the redone art, and they're all really sweet looking. So they broke from it being alternate arts. This starting on Friday, they're doing a set that is a crossover with The Walking Dead, and but it is all new cards that are only available in the secret drop that you buy directly from Wizards of the Coast, and they are legal in all of the old formats, or they are legal cards in the old formats. This is a very dangerous thing that you could devote a lot of time to, because you're changing the whole game. You're not being able to get things in cards. It's a cash grab, literally, where these highly desirable cards you're going to have to buy directly from them. And it's going to allow them to. And these are all, and literally, yeah, it's not only a cash grab, but also, if you want to get really nerdy about it, these cards are not reprints with different names. They are new cards. So we have Negan. Now, technically, if you want to buy into what Magic is, all of the cards in Magic are in the universe of Magic. This implies that Negan exists in the Magic universe, and so does Rick Grimes. So all of the wizards and shit and whatever in one of the dimensions, one of the multiverse planes, is The Walking Dead happening, and Negan exists in Magic.
The zombies in the show would make a lot more sense if they were undead.
Yeah, but that was there's a lot of problems with it, but I just thought that was interesting and relevant, because that's happening this weekend to coincide with The Walking Dead, which why are we even talking about Walking Dead anymore? That show's been irrelevant for how long?
But they still making that sweet AMC dollars,
I guess.
That show's amazing, because I stopped watching it during season 2, and every year I'm like, that shit show is still on the air?
I tried into season 3 when they go to the prison, and I'm like, wow, with no Shane, this show blows ass. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this is still on? What the hell?
Yeah. All right. So I have to go back. Sorry, I have to go back to Devil All the Time. I just it's irking me. But we need to close the show. I felt like it was this weird hodgepodge of a Coen Brothers movie, with like, so it feels like Fargo, but there's nothing like the dark comedy elements of it just aren't present. Like, and they're like, and we're gonna set it in a mixture of coal country, like between Ohio and West Virginia. We're gonna tackle some themes between like trust and authority figures being shattered, faith being abused. Like, so I found all those themes very, very interesting. But where I might agree with you, or maybe see if the spot hits home for you. Even though I said Fargo, like the cast structure is like watching Crash. And that is where, like, that sucks, because it's like it was like everyone's connected. Like, okay, that bullshit is annoying. Like, if that element is like annoying people in the movie, I'm like, no, I didn't like that either. I really just focused on Tom Holland's arc through the thing, and just the chaos of people interacting together. But if that's all you took away from it is the chaos of people interacting together, is like, then I can understand why this is a shit, like why you don't like it. And I probably if I were Antonio Campos, I probably would have changed a couple things.
I would say that this movie is like, it tries to be Magnolia mixed with No Country for Old Men, except not good. Those are two great films. Yeah, it had a lot of things that were good, but it's like you put like jelly on my steak. It's like they don't go together. Like, Tom Holland is great and Robert Pattinson is great, and I love ultra violence, and somehow you put those together and I don't like it. Like, how did you do that?
So my movie, movie I was going to recommend for people to watch is Catherine. It's a movie he did right before this, and it follows this news anchor who's trying to get her life back together, and shit happens. And that's really all I want to say, because I really can't say anything else without spoiling this one. But if you're worried about some content, like if you watch Devil All the Time, read the description for Catherine, because it is on Netflix. And I also watched his movie before this, and I'm not going to give this a recommendation because it's bad. Like, if I just said Catherine gets the things happen, Simon Killer is batshit crazy. And everyone may not be like, and I want to recommend it just so you can see the range of this director, because Catherine I could kind of follow from Devil All the Time. Like, okay, I can kind of see where maybe you, and then I get the Simon Killer, and I'm like, is this the same guy? What? How did he? And it's this sex addicted sociopath going on a rampage through France, and that's about all. So if you want to go check out Simon Killer, let me know what you think. But I would recommend Catherine. Just read the description. If you're like, I don't think that's for me, I understand. But I would recommend Catherine. Simon Killer is crazy. So if you want to do that to yourself for about an hour and a half, you'll be uncomfortable. Hey, being uncomfortable in a movie is okay. God, cuties.
Oh boy, how do people survive?
How do they do it, Tom? How do they do it?
They unsubscribe to Netflix.
Yeah, we suck so bad. God, we suck so bad.
Hey, Kenny.
Yeah.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but I just looked it up. I think the movie's called Christine.
Christine? It is Christine. Fuck.
You can edit that out. I just wanted people to know what the fuck you're actually recommending.
All right, everybody. Oh, you know what? Yeah. I feel like my brain was trying to do Catherine, because, yeah, you search Christine, you end up getting you get the Stephen King movie and novel, so you have to be specific to type in 2016 or 2018 to get Christine to show up. So that is a very key. Thank you. Yeah,
Criterion is showing that this month as well on the Criterion channel. So must be good. No, Christine, the one you're talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, it is
a documentary about it.
It is a really good movie. I liked it a lot. Oh, okay. Maybe I know what I'll do this weekend. All
there you go.
Right. Vartan and Ollie, thank you for joining us. It's been a really good having you here. I know this won't be the last time because we've already had collabs we didn't get to yet, and even this weekend gave us a bunch more ideas of what we want to do together. So it'd be really good. Yeah. And Tom, as always, love having my co-host here. We'll be back to our regular scheduled bad time next week. Have no idea what we're talking about yet, so we'll let you know. But hey, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, you can join us here live, and always on Twitch, YouTube, and catch the stream later if that's more up your alley. And along with the podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. So that's the show, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.